one thing I noticed, one thing I noticed when Camille and I met in 1983, did we?
We met in 82
Yeah.
briefly, magically, mythically.
I actually saw Camille like earlier because we were both living in Santa Fe, New Mexico. But once we started engaging, what I noticed that was terrifying and thrilling and ecstatic and inspiring is the power that Camille has over like my cellular life. Like my response to Camille has always been so powerful, and it's like white water rafting. There's this current of power flowing through me in response to her being, and it's all those qualities of exhilarating, terrifying, challenging, inspiring, nourishing. So it's home and adventure simultaneously. And I've had to reinvent meditation continuously to adapt to the power. Because Camille basically gets move her little finger, and my world is rocked, and it's always been this way. And I've had to invent thousands of little things continuously to roll with it. Because love is a physical sport, and it's very analogous to what musicians do playing their instruments, where guitar players have to learn to take care of their body, for example, and they have to manage the calluses on their fingertips to play and have just enough protection, enough just enough protection and sensitivity. So there's this physical sport-like dimension. And I find that I invent things all day long just to make it work with Camille every day that I've never heard of. But
Yeah.
what once I think of them, oh yeah, that makes sense because we're dealing with physics. There's like their bodies and energies are together. So we're in the realm of physics and biology.
Yes. And you'll get to hear a little more of my side of that dance. I want to open this line here this time to Bradley, who wants to tell you a little bit more about what we're doing today and so forth. So, Bradley.
My role today is quite simple. I'm kind of like the Walmart greeter. I'm just here to MC and welcome everybody and give you a little context of why we're gathering, what this is all about. So Lauren and Camille, for together the last 100 or so years, have been teaching meditation. Just 100 years together. It's, not too long. And as a result of not traveling last year due to the pandemic and just the way their work is evolving and the demand for their work to spread around the world, my team and I at Magic Media have been supporting them to build the Radiance Sutras School of Meditation. So we've been working and conversing since last November or December around envisioning and actually building the physical digital space for the school, which is opening on the 27th of July, just in less than a couple weeks from now. We're really, really excited to welcome everybody in. So we've been doing these launch events as a part of the celebration month before we open the gates to the school, as a way to raise awareness and also to give everybody a taste test of what's to come inside of the school. So I'll post some links inside of the chat here where you can get all of the recordings, as well as we have one more event next Saturday after this one. And today's event, Living in Love's Body, is a part of a 5-part series. I guess this is part 1, and there's going to be 4 more weekly workshops that Lauren and Camille are doing, which will start as soon as we open the gates to the community. So The Living in Love's Body, the full course, will be available only to the founding members, the people that are supporting the school to get off the ground. And I'll post a link to where you can find out about the school. Definitely watch the video, and if you can, tune into some of the recordings of what we've been up to so far, and hopefully we'll see you all next week as well. So just want to say thank you for taking the time on a Saturday to come join, to come live in Love's Body alongside Lauren and Camille. I'm excited for this workshop, and I'm sure all of you are as well. And I think that's all I have to say. I'm just want to just say thank you to Lauren and Camille for all of the amazing work that they're doing in the world to support all of us to live in Love's Body. I mean, what better thing to do during these times we're living in, when the world seems to be going a little bit crazy and haywire? We might as well just be here inside of ourselves right now. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Bradley.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
This is very exciting.
Bradley's got daddy duty.
Yeah.
I'm on dad duty.
How many of you are on mommy or daddy duty?
And I was happy to hear from Brad just now that this morning they had the Bow Wow Open where the dogs are allowed on the golf course accompanying everybody. So
That's hilarious.
Bradley's dog is deep asleep in a dog ecstasy from having run God knows how many miles or kilometers this morning already. And as we know, like dogs make everything better.
They do.
The incredible love that they embody and bring to the every moment.
So true. They're so
and
cute.
Another example of love, we can love creatures of all kinds. I love my little hummingbird, as some of you know, continually more and more. We can be in a love relationship with a tree, with the sky, with the ocean, with the mountains, with that little daffodil outside or whatever. And we're on that continual living in Love's Body of tuning to what we love, who we love, and the current of life force, that current of love that is always pulsating right here in us, each of us, in its very particular, very individual way. Pulsating right here within us, right this moment. And that we can join with that current with awareness. And that's what we're talking about in this short Living in Love's Body journey. So today we're giving a kind of overview and introduction. So living in Love's Body. So that current of love in this very body.
So Camille said joining with the current. And one of the core images inside of the word yoga is joining. It's actually cognate, meaning that the ya sound, the J, the Y of yoga, and the J of joint, junction, joining, they're the same sound that human beings love to use for the sense of bringing things together appropriately, the art and the craft of skillfully bringing things together. Now, it's wild that we have this impulse sometimes to be together, to form tribes, to have friends, to have a mate, to have a partner, and more inwardly to join in with ourselves, like with the troublesome and wonderful aspects of our own personalities, and to join with the motions of life, like breathing, the rhythm of music. We have impulses to join, and this is yoga. The core principle of yoga is the skills involved in joining. For every coming together, if it was a marriage, whether it's electrons marrying a proton and forming an atom of hydrogen, or the cells joining together to form organs, or a body being joined together with itself and coherent in itself, or a partnership, whether it's in business, a friendship, a tennis buddy, or a karaoke buddy, or somebody you like to practice yoga with, or a writing group, or a family, or a courtship, a romantic relationship, a hookup, a marriage. There's a skillfulness to joining and an exactitude, and actually any relationship is a dance of appropriateness, and the steps can change in a heartbeat. And to keep a love alive long term, we need to honor the ever changing current, to be continually dancing with the current of life, because life always wants to renew us. Life always wants to wake us up so that we're all of our senses are infused with what in Sanskrit is called soma, the juiciness of life, so that we're savoring and seeing and tasting and smelling and delighting in the magnificence of creation all around us and inside. For we're participating in this miracle of creation. And we're here for such a short time. Life is so short. It's true what Brad said. We've been practicing and teaching for 100 years.
Combined.
Yeah, for me, 52 years, and Camille,
48.
almost. And
48.
really, over 50 years of teaching and researching meditation. It's just barely enough. There's so much to know. People are so wonderful and individual. And even getting to know one person takes years and years. Just learning to make love to one woman takes years and years. From any woman, she has dozens of people in there, and each one has her own preference structure, her own dance, and the combinations of inner people that can be embraced within. And each person has within them many doorways into meditation. So these truths are always getting lost in the meditation traditions, because there's so many cultures and there's so many techniques. it, we think it's from the genius of Zen long ago, that one of the great Zen masters, who would probably also a poet and a calligrapher,
Mm.
wrote or said, meditation is being intimate with all life. And a bunch of us meditation teachers tried to find the exact source of this, and we couldn't. The
Hmm.
trail faded. It faded. But I think that comes from Zen, and they're famous for that kind of startling, fresh perception. And if we look at the world's meditation techniques, all those ways of being, with breathing, with listening to like subtle, tiny, quiet sounds of mantras reverberating in your deepest being, in your heart, of being with the chakras, the visualizations. These are actually all, you could say, oh my God, those are just ways of being intimate with the life force flowing and pulsating through us always. My God, that's what it is. All those thousands of different meditation techniques are beautiful ways of being in love, in loving, intimate communion with the essence of life itself, from the rhythms of the flesh, like as in breathing, to the spirit of inspiration, to the subtlest consciousness. There, all those techniques are ways of being intimate with the life force. It goes, oh, aha. When you realize that, it all makes sense. And do that for yourself as like a thought experiment. Oh, those are ways of being intimate. Check it out. So, Camille?
Well, actually, let's pause here to feel into your own heart. Feel into what is pulsating already right here, right now, inside of you. And these simple things like this breath that I just spontaneously deepened, that flow. You know, breath may be one of the most intimate ways of being in communion with that larger field of life and of love. That flow, it's a movement. So that continual rhythm that is always right here can help us to pause and deepen in this moment, even what is in my heart? What is in my heart? Who is in my heart today? Perhaps you'll find yourself scanning your life for all those that you care about. You may feel a kind of longing. That sense of this is my life in this moment. The ways that I am connecting to myself, being intimate with myself in this moment, even just for these few breaths. Can you feel in your way what it is to be intimate with yourself? And that from that connection with yourself, that sense of, again, opening to the movement of your life, all that's pulsating in your life, what's happening, and what's happening in your relationship to those outer circumstances. And as Lauren said, you know, that desire you may have or hint that there are ways that you want to show up. You want to show up in the movement of your life. Ah. So when we tune into our heart, and as I say, you know, your hand may, like mine, spontaneously, or both hands might come to your own body. Maybe let's invite ourselves to really feel this form, this face, this throat, and these shoulders, this heart, you know, just touching in for a moment with your whole body in some way. And as you do, you know, being in touch with yourself this way, in recognizing that movement of your life, I know some of you here are now and currently in a long-term relationship. And you have some sense of the journey and all that it takes to show up, to be available. And that dance between taking care of yourself and taking care of loved ones. Some of you may be starting a new relationship of some kind. And again, relationship is everything, it's everywhere. So, this feeling your connection and your longing, your hint at what's moving in you, that's wanting to be attended to, that's wanting more attention, that's wanting to have more resourcefulness, that's wanting to have more freedom, what's wanting to have more joy, more play, more depth, more truth, more coherence, let's say. There, so wherever you are in that flow of relationship, of intimacy, of longing for intimacy. And that again starts right here. So that that's the foundation that we are going to come back to again and again and again. That's the primary tuning that we're offering in this living in love's body. And then the ways, therefore, that we need to tune ourselves, those particular ways that really help, really make a difference, really make a difference in the quality of all our relationships, the authenticity, the courage, the ecstasy, the depth of soul, the depth of soul. So, of course, as we go along, you're welcome to put anything that you would like to express in the chat. So, the first week of our 4-week journey is the subject is intimacy. So, going deeper into that. And what does it mean to be in an intimate relationship? How do we allow ourselves to be vulnerable and open? Also connected to our inner strength, our inner core, our own sovereignty. And that vulnerability and openness that allow us to both give love, but also sometimes even more challenging to receive. That flow of giving and receiving. Well, Lauren, you want to add something at this point? Do you want to add anything?
Me? Oh, okay. So, among the confusing things of relationships as well as life, that everything's always changing. So, like if you think of all of the chakras, they're, there's these simplistic maps that throughout the body, there are these centers of energy and intelligence. There's the heart center, which is really not just on the surface, it's all the way through the body. And we can feel, when we feel move, those amazing world of sensation and emotion when we're moved. And there's belly sensations, which is it's beyond saying it's our personal power, but that does describe part of it. The sensing our own presence, our own power, our own physicality, and the pelvis areas, and throughout the whole area of the base of the spine, the base of the body, and the legs, and then throughout the head and the shoulders. There's electrical areas that are centers of intelligence and motion and the flow of the life force. And as we engage with another person, or if we're alone, we're sitting in a forest, different areas of the body, the currents are awakened and they flow and they sing. The energies sing. They're also give us nourishment. They lead us into rest and healing, and they call us on adventures, whether it's learning to trust our intuition, our own form of clairvoyance, with our which is an extension of our hunting instincts and tracking instincts, and the ability that we have and that animals have to sense, oh, I need a certain quality. I need something to survive, and go and hunt and find that berry or a fruit that's ripening, or an herb or a nuts or some quality of nutrition that you need to give you strength, that you need to support your immune system, that you some micronutrition or macronutrition that you need. We have instincts for seeking out what we need, the kind of nourishment. And each of our areas of the body also, they awaken to hankerings like I need color. I need to see the light of the sun shining on the physicality. I need music. I need to hear voices. I need human voices. I need to hear soft speech. I need to hear words of love. I need to hear poetry. I need to hear drums. I need to taste food. I need to smell the richness. And more subtly, there's an inner subtle equivalent of all of these in any human relationship. And as we approach giving ourselves what we need in our inner relationship with intimacy with our own body and with the nature around us, there's all of these flavors and nuances waiting to be explored. And each one gives a gift. So as we approach, like, how do I prepare myself, my body, mind system, to tolerate intimacy, the intimacy that I crave with my own soul, with this embodiment, with nature, and with another person, the people that I want to be close to, or the relationships that I'm in or that I want to have. One ally is discovering your own personal form of meditation out of the thousands of techniques and styles. What feeds me? What thrills me? What kind of meditation is so renewing that, like, after I emerge from half an hour of meditation, it's as if I forgive the world. I, I'm restored and I'm ready to love and live. Or at least I move further along that path towards being born again.
Mm.
And it's very individual. Like in a group of, say, experience, I won't say advanced meditators, but say experience. Say we're in a group, as Camille and I often have been over the years, like 50 yoga teachers. When I say, okay, just be in whatever posture you want to be in. And here's a bunch of different practice meditations. what are you attracted to right now? Out of, say, 50 people, maybe 10 don't want to sit or lie down. They want to be standing and dancing and swaying. They want to be doing a movement meditation. Maybe 25 will want to sit,
Hmm.
and the others all want to lie down, like half the room. That you give them permission. Oh, thank God. They want to lie down, put some props up, maybe, and usually put a blanket or whatever's available over their eyes,
Cozy.
and just be cozy and sink into the floor and float. And it's a when you're craving it, as you if you've done this, oh my God, it's just bliss. It you're bathing in gravity and lightness and breath, the flow of breath. And then if we do this long enough, though, everybody switches. After giving in to gravity and sinking down and melting into the floor, eventually it creates a feeling of lightness and wanting to dance. And the people who have been standing up want to lie down, and the people who have been sitting want to switch. So when you give yourself freedom to discover what you need, like what meditation is my meditation
Today.
right now, and it's so satisfying that it just fills me up so that I'm in much better shape to love another person. And that's always the question. It's what fills me up so I have a lot to give. And it's a challenge to stay tuned so that you can always hear the other person, and not just always be going like, no, I can't hear you. I don't hear you. That it's a challenge to stay tuned, to accept the gift of another person and not take them for granted.
Yeah. I can tell you that my daily, sometimes very long meditations, but that tuning, that being in touch with myself, and the way that we're talking about that intimacy with the self, uh, I don't think, number one, my life would look anything like it is right now, and certainly would not have navigated the challenges of relationships. So um, we're going to talk about that too. There are always these challenges. So our week one is going deeper into intimacy. What is intimacy for me at this time in my life? What do I crave? How do I need to go be more? It's an ongoing practice, being intimate with the self, because when you think about the self, think capital S. Yeah. It's all levels of our being, and embracing oneself that thoroughly. So guess what? So that we can embrace the fullness of self of another. It's ongoing. I'm getting the Shakti shimmers even just saying that. So week one is going deeper into intimacy. Week two is navigating the challenges. We'll talk about navigating some of the challenges we all face. Now, week three is about erotic play, sensuality. And week four is going deeper in what we mean when we say union and communion. So, yeah, so going back to the navigating of challenges, just a little overview of that, and that, when we're intimate with ourselves, we can become aware of certain patterns, certain aches, certain, like uh, things that have happened in the past, or it's not something that's bothering us right now. And in relationship, one of the, you could say, mixed blessings of relationship, um, of any kind, but the closer it is, the more intense the reflections can be when you realize, oh, my control patterns. Yow. And I can say from my personal experience and reactivity, there's always kind of a dialogue going on between us and our own self, but also in life, but also ourselves and another person. There's always that in any kind of communion, there is always both reinforcing, supportive, loving, completely accepting reflections. And then there are the things that come up without exception. Things come up in relationship. And also the longer the relationship, the deeper that process gets. And then there are the challenges. So my control patterns, my habitual reactivity, and getting stretched, practices that help us be with that process. And then there are the challenges where a partner or someone that we care very deeply about, they themselves are going through something challenging, that we're there for them in some way. So how can I be there when a loved one is going through something difficult? Yeah. And life has its way of presenting those things in our own intense challenges, whether it's health or loss of some kind. Yeah. And inevitably, people around us might be dealing with health or some challenge of some kind. So just taking a breath with that, because I have a feeling that most of you, if not all of you, know something about that kind of process. And feeling, oh, how do I need to show up? How do I know in my heart I'm being called to show up? And simultaneously, the other side of it is when there's a greater need for a boundary, and allowing there to be a kind of separation of some kind, and having ways to coming back to oneself, of the integrity of one's own being and one's own major pulsation. Or the other person needs that, who knows? And some of you may be navigating a challenging separation, perhaps permanent, perhaps temporary. We had a couple of temporary ones along the way. Yeah. So, yeah. So, how do I find ever deeper courage? Le cœur, le corazón, the heart. How do I find ever deeper courage? And the trust. What is that trust that allows me to go deeper into the current of love? Yeah. Do you want to say anything about that before we move on?
We'd move on to what? What are you going to move on to?
Week 3, erotic play.
We're going to review week 3?
We're just we don't have to say anything if you don't want to say anything, but just give an overview. That's what this introductory call is about.
Well, I sort of don't want to just flirt with mention erotic play and not again, it's like teasing.
It is teasing. That's why we're
I don't want to
this is a tease, Lauren.
Okay.
We're teasing them. We're inviting them to come closer. Come closer to us.
Okay, I know how to do it. So going back to the earliest trends that we know in the meditation traditions, back the Vedas and the the Upanishads and the earliest chants, there's been this conception of four purposes to human life, which are also the four great desires, the currents of desire that are always flowing through a human being. And in Sanskrit, it's kama, which is love, sensual pleasure, especially sexual joy, the erotic spirit, and even like the tingling, sort of mildly erotic feeling of listening to music or looking at nature, the refined dimension of lovemaking, from eating wonderful food or chocolate or listening to music, being in nature, receiving a massage. That's on the continuum of eros, from this subtle tingling to full orgasm. And it's an essential, the current of pleasure. Moksha, which is freedom, liberation, freedom to be myself, freedom to inhabit my body, to inhabit my individuality, which always is a path of discovery. Artha, which is business and work and purpose and our making money and having property, our relationship with the physicality of giving and receiving, that we can do some work in the world and be rewarded, have a place to stay and have food and have clothing and shelter. Artha is all of that. It's work and business and property. But it's business. What's your business? And dharma, which is untranslatable, but we could say honor and the path of virtue. It's being noble. It's engaging those activities that call you, that ring a bell with other people, that shine,
Mm.
that shine. That it can be heroic qualities, service. And these four words, moksha, freedom, individuality, liberation, moksha, freedom, kama, love in all of its forms, artha, like the business and the flow of abundance, the flow of wealth from doing your work, and dharma. And to support any relationship that we're in, we need to keep discovering and rediscovering that which is sensually satisfying, so that you're filled with sensual pleasure. You're loved up. And this means that our meditation, to support an outer relationship, we need to keep allowing and giving yourself permission for meditation to be so deeply satisfying, deeply pleasurable, that when we emerge from meditation, we're filled with love to give to our beloved. Or if we're going to be alone, that we're just filled with love. And moksha, freedom, I find that I need to continually be giving myself freedom. And even though I've been doing this for more than half a century, I keep being startled by how much freedom that there is to be accepted. I feel like I break little rules inside my head. They're just things that somewhere in time I made up or inherited. That freedom to inhabit the universe, to support being with one person. If meditation for you is a path of freedom, so you go into meditation for half an hour and you're so drenched in freedom, coming out, half an hour later is like coming back from a month-long vacation. You're just so glad to see your living room. You're so glad that there's a cup still there. That you're so glad for the person. There's a freshness of perception, and you appreciate the boundedness, the boundary of the relationship, the bond. In Sanskrit, the word banta is for relationships, and it's the same word as bond or bandage. It's a relationship as a commitment. And if we give ourselves enough freedom inwardly, we're so grateful for the container, the boundary of the relationship, that we stay in fresh air. That's like it's always fresh. It's as if we're always just coming back from a long vacation. It's like, I'm so glad to see you. How incredible that we get to spend another moment together in the spin.
I'll drink to that.
So I find these things to be true.
Here,
Oh, thank you.
let's drink to flow,
And
sensual.
in terms of arrows, meditation, all of the techniques are so delicious. We could the concept of mindfulness is really useful, and it's a cover, it's a camouflage for intense sensuality. Because if you look at what mindfulness, the exercises really are, you take a teeny bit of something, chocolate or a piece of fruit, and just enjoy the hell out of it. Like just go in all the way.
The heaven out of it.
Yeah, like just
Absorb the heaven.
take a teeny bit of chocolate, or the meditation teachers don't talk about it, but they tend to all be potheads. Um, they are. If you ever hear a meditation teacher and they're going on about how virtuous they are, like how they fast or they live on distilled water or whatever, and that yeah they sit for hours like this, you just know that if they're if they do this for more than a year, they build up so much craving that actually what they do is they'll act virtuous, and then they'll go rock out. They'll go smoke pot all weekend or every night and take ecstasy just in order to have a place where they cut loose. And that's fine. Uh, for decades, really forever, there's been these people flip flopping. So they'll show up as meditation guides, pretending to be celibate and virtuous, and I'm practicing these disciplines. And what they're secretly doing is, you could call it an addiction or binging, but they get so arid practicing what they think of as a discipline that they have to swing over to the other side. Like people that are trying to lose weight and then they develop these incredible cravings and they raid the refrigerator at night, and they maybe even get stuck in a cycle of binging and purging. Meditation teachers are subject to the same that same principle. So you can't believe that anybody's actually doing the practices that they talk about. It's not real. It's what's real is to be luscious with yourself, that you're giving yourself what you need. And each person maybe have a dozen major subpersonalities. So I was talking with I have three sisters, and they all have kids and like busy lives. But like two of my sisters, who each of has three kids, and I couldn't keep up with them for a day. They just the driving they do to take kids to like soccer and surfing camp and everything. They've said to me at different times, I could be a nun. We we all have different subpersonalities or different as if different cast of characters. And each one of those characters may have their own favorite meditation. So if you explore the erotic tone of your own meditation, there might be a whole world to discover and adventure with. And you'll know what works because it's supporting your outer life. That's how you stay honest, is that you want meditation to be so luscious that you're having an affair with prana. And that way you can be in a long-term relationship and not need to go elsewhere.
Mhm.
Because just getting to know all of your inner people and all of the inner people of the inner person, it's it that's as polyamorous as anybody could ever need to be.
And that requires the moksha. It requires the freedom within oneself. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like, just on that note, the freedom to be any expression as you desire, uh, in obviously in ethical, blah 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 blah, ethically, but that sense that somewhere inside of yourself, it's just that fullness, that um, freedom, and that, yes, lusciousness. And this is particularly, I want to speak to, particularly to women. And as Lauren is saying, like, one of those sisters was telling us that she just, feels dried out, because here she is, she's the single mother, 3 kids, they're grown, almost grown, but she's working. So many women are in that situation. And as we get older, especially, building this in, the sensuality, the natural sensuality that is just for oneself, just for oneself. And then you can choose if and how you share with another. So that's a foundation, and that's something that we're drawing upon a lot of the material that's in our books. That particular, when I speak to women, that's Meditation Secrets for Women, which has a wealth of such things. But what is it for you to embody? But men, whatever self-description, these things are important, because it is the life force. It's the flow of prana shakti. It's the current of life, of love, of vibrancy, of nourishment, of enjoyment, simple pleasure that then takes us into speaking about communion. That. So, and in communion, the fourth week, talking about within ourselves and with another, and with others in general, recognizing, so being at home in oneself ever more deeply, and then recognizing, being able to appreciate the uniqueness. Let me tell you, and the more individual, the more individuated we are, the more we go along the journey here and claim more and more of ourselves. And then to come, so then, the embracing all of ourselves, that's a journey. And then seeing, appreciating all of the other, the distinct, unique creation.
it's that rhythm of opposites. The where when we swing one way, we rebound into the other.
We call that syzygy. Yeah. And that's an inner marriage that's going on all of the time. And then there's the marriage of how we are with the circumstances of our life, and particularly with others who we choose to have close. Yeah.
I think that's enough. It's almost an
Yeah.
hour. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, let's like see you soon. let's continue. It's like enough. Wow. It's like, whoa, enough. Whew. Whew.
Yeah, and you can check out the membership site and the community site and the descriptions there, and you can ask your questions about the practicalities. We're not going to be going into that, but
Well, what we like to share is the things that we've proven to work over decades. So we both like live and breathe this stuff. And in life, it's important not to waste our own time and anybody else's time. So what we like to share are the things that keep on giving, the kind of the mantra like thoughts, the principles, the techniques, the approaches that just work and work and work and work, that proven themselves. And it's actually stuff that we've been given and stuff that's actually in the meditation tradition for people who live in the world. And we just we just find this stuff to be incredibly useful moment by moment, day by day, the practical techniques for how to keep a rich, juicy inner life going that supports the outer relationships, whatever they are.
yeah,
So let's wrap it up.
okay. Well, thank you all for being here. As it's always such a joy to be able to see some of you live, and thank you for those of you who are watching later, or if you're all watching again. You know, we welcome you into this world of living in love's body, this ever deepening joy and freedom, pulsating with love, pulsating with that current of love.
Ah,
Okay, well, we hope to see you soon.
okay.